Well, hello and welcome, everyone. My name is Stephen Goldberg of Optimus Performance, bringing you practical tips on leadership, team development, and employee performance in the workplace. And as you can see, I have a special guest with me, Michael DeLon. Welcome, Michael.
Hey, thanks, Stephen. Glad to be here.
Thank you for joining me today. Michael DeLon creates credibility for his clients. Who doesn't need credibility? As America's foremost authority on credibility marketing, he helps business owners publish a book that positions them as the expert in their field. Business owners seek out Michael to clarify their brand strategy, make them best-selling authors, and set up their profitable podcast. They use his credibility marketing strategies to get more clients, get more referrals, and grow their revenue. Now, who doesn't want to do that? Michael is the #1 Amazon best-selling author of On Marketing. When Michael is not helping others publish their books, you normally find him investing time with his family, reading a great book, or facilitating growth in the lives of those around him. That's a great mission. Well, welcome again, Michael. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thanks.
And I know for myself, I thought of many times of writing a book, but I guess I just stuck to making videos and podcasts. So I'm always intrigued to, find out more about the process. And you have a unique way of doing book writing from what I understand. So maybe start by describing the type of clients you work with. I mentioned business owners, but is there a specific niche or, why do people, I guess people want to write books, as you said, for credibility, but maybe give me your take on who your clients are and on what their motivation is.
Yeah, absolutely, Stephen. Yeah. So, we work with business owners across the board, right? Entrepreneurs, small business owners, people who sell through consultation. So, financial advisors, attorneys, realtors, coaches, we all sell through a consultative approach, and we tend to have what is known as a longer sales cycle, right? It's not buying a hamburger. This is something where somebody's got to know you, they've got to trust you, you've got to build a relationship, make sure it's a good fit. So it's typically somebody's been thinking about your service for a while. They're looking for somebody to help them, okay? Covers a lot of territory. We created our company because I believe that small business owners are experts at what they do, but most business owners aren't great at marketing. And so what we do is we come in, Stephen, and help our clients. We interview them. I tell people all the time, Stephen, you said you've been thinking a lot of writing a book and things. Never write a book. Okay. You don't want to write a book. You want to speak to write a book, which is our process where we have our writers interview you. And through a series of questions, we build an outline, and then you actually speak the content of your book to us. And then our writers do their skill of crafting your manuscript into your book using your words, your language. It's much faster. Plus, you can communicate. When you communicate with a prospect, are you sending them emails all the time or writing them white papers? No, you're on Zoom, you're on phone calls, you're in person, you're talking with them. So that's the process we use to create your book, because we want to capture you and your stories in the pages of your book, right? So as far as target audience, it's across the board. We've done everything from a guy who has a business training canine dogs for police forces, all the way to automotive repair shops, to real estate agents, to financial advisors, to attorneys, to you name it, because they're all experts at what they do. What they're looking for, and this gets to the second part of your question, is, well, why a book? Well, in our culture, Stephen, experts have books, period. And when your audience sees that you are an Amazon best-selling author of a book that's going to answer a lot of their questions, what happens in their mind changes the game. You immediately move from being one of many to a category of one. You're the guy who wrote the book on it, right? And that draws a prospect to you. It gives you a great lead magnet, something that put into their hand that is different from a brochure or a business card. something where you can educate them really one-on-one, because when we read books, we do it one-on-one, not normally in a group setting, right? And so they're reading your stories. They're learning about why do you do what you do, and it bonds them to you, so they're ready to take that next step, which is maybe a Zoom call with you. So that's that long sales cycle that I was talking about. Is people need to be warmed up. We need to bond with those we're going to do business with. And well, I'm a little biased, Stephen, but there's not a lot better than writing it into a book, because it's just there's a high barrier to creating a book. That's why most people that I talk with, most of my prospects, say what you just said, Stephen. Well, I've thought about writing a book for a long time. Well, why haven't you? Well, it's because the barrier to entry is so high. Well, we lower that barrier of entry through our process and help you create and get a book published in about 6 to 9 months. And then we teach you how to use that book to not only establish credibility for yourself, but to market that credibility so you'll gain clients, get referrals, and grow your revenue. So that was a really long answer to that question. I hope I answered that.
So it's like a complete process, because what's the use of having a book if nobody's going to read it, if it's not going to get out there?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's where we start. We've been doing this 9 years. The first few years, I would just publish somebody's book, and I'd publish your book, Stephen. You'd say, hey, that's great, Michael. What do I do with it?
Right.
Because as a business owner, you're an expert at what you do, but the marketing aspect we all struggle with, right? I just happen to be a marketing guru, and I'm an expert in marketing for small business owners. I bring that to the table. I give you marketing systems that we have created that dovetail with your authority, and you implement those in your business. And when you operate these systems that we give you, you start gaining clients, you start getting on podcasts, you start getting more referrals, because it's all built to be a system, each one of those.
You mentioned barriers to entry for somebody to, like myself. I mentioned I thought of writing my own book. So typically, what are those barriers that you overcome through your process?
Yeah, great. Number one, what to write about.
Okay.
You may not exactly know what you're wanting to write about, or how do you get it structured properly. What's the flow of the book from start to finish? What's the overarching theme of the book, and how do you actually get it done? What do you do? Do you open up a Word document, or what? Right there, there's all of that. The worst thing in the world is to open up a Word document, stare at a blank screen, and say, "I want to write a book." That's just.
Can't you just go on YouTube and find videos how to write your own book?
Oh, absolutely. You probably can. We actually have a free course on our website. It's called Book Writing Bootcamp. It takes you through our entire process. But most people, when they're sitting there going, well, I thought about writing a book. Well, what's stopping you? Okay. It's those barriers of, well, what do I write? And a lot of our clients, if they were to write their own book, they would go and become too detailed. And that's not the purpose of the book. The purpose of the book is to educate and to bond emotionally, so that that prospect sees you as the expert, decides in their mind, you're really the person I'd love to work with if we're a good fit. And they schedule a call with you so that you can either Zoom, in person, whatever, however you do it. You both can decide, are you a good fit, and is this the right solution for you? Your book is a salesperson for you, but it's like you going out and talking with people. You're just handing them a copy of your book. What we do is we lower those barriers, because we tell you, if you just show up on some calls with us, we'll ask you the questions. We will get the content we need for the book. We will structure your book properly and tell your story the way it needs to be told. But all of the content's coming from you, okay?
How does somebody, it sounds like an expensive process. So your target audience must be people that are already successful or have enough money to invest in this, because sounds like a long-term investment.
Oh, the investment takes place over a year, because this is a marketing investment in your business. And yeah, you have to have a business that's running and operational, unless you've just got lots of money behind you. But the real question is, how much money are you losing by not gaining the sales that you're missing already? What we find is we back our process up with a 2-year risk-free money-back guarantee. that you're going to double your investment in our program in 2 years, or we'll give you all of your money back, because we know it works. And so obviously you can't be a startup necessarily. You've got to have some kind of a track record. But if you've been in business, 3 or 4 years, and you can show that you've got a market in front of you, and you can deliver the goods, there is no better way to outpace your competition and to position yourself in the eyes of your audience as the source and the person than to create and publish your own book and to become an Amazon bestseller. And then we add a podcast on the backside of that so that you'll have your own podcast. And then you start running our marketing systems, and you start outpacing the competition pretty quickly because you're already good at what you do. So most business owners don't struggle because they're not good at what they do. They struggle because they're not good at marketing. And
you mentioned the guarantee return on investment. So obviously, once the book is published or written and published, there's things that, let's say, if I was your client, that I would need to do to get the book out there. What are some of those things that I would have to take on that I'm not doing now because I don't have a book, but to market myself?
Sure. I mean, as simple as having the book on your website, right? To give people an opportunity to get a free copy. You're not going to make money. You're not going to get rich selling this thing on Amazon, right? It's on Amazon. It's on Kindle. We do all that publishing for you. But you're not going to get rich there. What you're going to do is gain wealth through gaining clients. So we teach you one of our systems, one of our playbooks is what we call it, step-by-step guides, is your website conversion funnel. Put your book on your website. Give people an opportunity to get a free copy of your book. So they opt in, name and email. It's a PDF. Thank you page comes up, and you're there saying, hey, thanks so much for getting a copy of my book. Let me mail you a physical copy. Absolutely free. Just tell me where to mail it. You can underline it, highlight it, dog ear it, keep it around, read it some more. Just tell me where to send it. I'll mail it out to you. Now, about 40% of the people are going to give you the rest of their information. Okay. The number one asset, Stephen, in any business is your list. Because once I get somebody on my list, now I have 100 different ways to market to them. So I get you on my list. I offer you to mail a copy of your book to you. Obviously, there's a email follow-up system after somebody opts in to get your book, right? We teach you what that system should look like. So that would be one. How about referrals? Everybody loves referrals, right? How about if you have a great, let's say, financial advisor just finishes the retirement plan for this couple, and they're thrilled and they're getting ready to leave the office. And he says, Stephen, would you do me a favor? And you'd say, well, yes, because you're thrilled with them, right? And you say, Stephen, I don't know if you know this, but most of our clients don't come to us through the advertising you see us do everywhere. They come to us from the referrals of our happy clients. It would mean a lot to me if you would take 3 or 4 copies of my book, Stephen, and as you're talking with your buddies at the club or at work about your retirement and how we have served you, would you just do me a favor and just hand them a copy of my book and say, well, this is the people we trust with our retirement. Would you do that for me? Well, yeah, that'd be great. And think about how cool is this, Stephen, for you to go, well, we just got our retirement set up and we're going to be really well set up for retirement. In fact, we work with the guy who wrote the book on planning a secure retirement. Now, that's really cool, right? So you're going to get referrals that way because your best clients run in circles of people just like them. So why not build in a referral system using your book to get more people like your best clients? So now you've got a system to attract it on your website. Now you've got a referral system. That's just 2. We've got over a dozen of these marketing playbooks, credibility playbooks that we deliver to our clients to help you do just that. Now, Stephen, of those 2 systems, how much money do you have invested in those systems? Well, not much. You have a website already. And you have clients who will hand your book out. So our systems are not built to say, okay, now that you have your book built, now pay me more money to build marketing for you. No, that's not what it's about. I'm a small business owner. We build systems that help you leverage your book and work with the mind of your audience, because that's where marketing effects take place. They happen in the mind of your audience. And how do they think about you differently than your competitors? Because if you're not giving your audience a reason to think of you differently, you're what we call a coffee bean. Now, I love coffee. If you take coffee beans out of a bag and pour them on a table, they all look the same. They all smell the same. If you look like and sound like all of your competitors, you're not giving your audience, your prospects, a reason to choose you. Being an Amazon best-selling author, having your own podcast, and using these credibility marketing systems gives people a reason to choose you over your competition. That's why people will come to me, and we help them establish and market their credibility so that they'll gain clients, get referrals, and grow their revenue. It's a business growth process. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. So it's really, the book is just a tool to use to build your brand. Actually, I guess it really starts with your process of getting clear on what your message is, what you're an expert at. And I know, like for myself and a lot of coaches and consultants, we tend to sometimes or often generalize our services. I can do this, I can do that. And like to write a book and to focus on one specific expertise is in itself, I guess, bringing clarity to the professional, to the business owner, and then, learning how to market themselves using the book. And I guess along with the other tools that you provide is really the value you bring. Now, I'm thinking while you're speaking, we're talking about potential clients who you work with, or clients that you work with are mostly business owners, experts in their field. What about, like, I know a lot of my audience are not specifically business owners, a lot are, but there's also managers, directors of companies. How could they use a book in terms of building their own brand for career development? Because a lot of people want to move up the ladder and go from where they are now to somewhere bigger where they can really fill their potential and have a passion for what they do. Have you worked with people like that? Can it work in this case?
It can absolutely work in that case. It depends on, does somebody like that have number one, do they have the revenue to invest in it? Obviously, right? Business owners use it as a marketing investment. So we have marketing budgets. If somebody like that has the money and they want to come to us, absolutely, because they have a message. If there's somebody climbing the corporate ladder, they could write a book on their expertise, leadership or IT or whatever it is, and hand it out to their peers, take it to conferences. What if they started getting invited to speak at conferences, right? Their CEOs, their C-suite level people in their organization are going to see that. We had one guy, he was a mortgage broker at a bank. And he came to me and he paid the freight, and he wrote a book on mortgages. Well, he would get more mortgages, obviously. But what happened is there was another bank across town that got a copy of his book, read it, started figuring out who this guy was. They started looking for a vice president of their mortgage division. And because of his book, when he went to that interview, guess what he took with him? He took about 7 copies of his book to hand to the 7 board members of that bank. He didn't take a resume. He took his book. He got hired. Now he's the president of that division for that major bank. It happened because of his book and how he leveraged his credibility, because other people started seeing him, reading his book, saying, this guy communicates well. This guy has a clear message. This guy's a leader. If those are the qualities you're trying to communicate, what better way than to publish a book on it and become known? Start your own YouTube channel. Start doing videos like Stephen talks to you about. Give people a copy of your book and become known as the person who does what you want to do. And absolutely can help you scale your business. Now, that's not obviously our ideal client, but the process works. Absolutely.
So you mentioned, well, let's say somebody already wrote a book and self-published, but it didn't sell. They're not using it properly to market themselves. Can you work with people like that too, or do you have to start all over?
Yeah, no, we can work with people. In fact, early 2022, this was probably when this is going to air sometime, we were launching a coaching program for people just like that. So that if you have a book already, but you don't understand the marketing aspect, remember, it's not about selling copies on Amazon and Kindle. That's not where you're going to make your money. You need to understand the marketing mindset and the credibility marketing aspects of being an author. So if you already have a book, we're going to have that coaching program starting in probably late first quarter of 2022 that you could join. And in that, we're going to help you make sure your message is right. We're going to teach you marketing systems that we give to our clients. And you're going to be able to take it from where you are today and say, oh, this is how I use my current book. Absolutely. You don't have to come back and recreate the book.
So, well, that's interesting. You mentioned, you talk about the book is a tool for building credibility and marketing yourself. What are some ways someone can establish and market or do their marketing, build their credibility without whether they have a book or not? Like, what are some tips you can provide to people to, you're the marketing guru.
Yeah.
How can one, let's say even myself, build my credibility further? I don't have a book right now. What things can I do? Yeah.
So number one, tell your story. There's a reason that you do what you do, Stephen, right? And through the story, that's where we always start with our clients is what we call brand strategy. Understanding your story, that what has brought you to where you are today and what's different about you. So right before this interview, I just came off of a mastermind call. Okay. And we had about 12 business owners from around the country there. And one guy has just joined the group and they introduced him. His name was Davey. And they said, this is Davey. He's the profit coach. And he's got a great business. And we'll talk to you about and just the fact that he's positioned himself as the profit coach. What does that communicate to me? He's a coach that will help me become more profitable in my business. I already have my eyes open for him going, I want to find out who he is and what he does. He didn't come and say, well, I'm a leadership coach or I'm a whatever coach. No, he's the profit coach. That's a very specific way. Now, if you had something like that, or let's say he didn't have a book. I don't know if he has a book or not. He's the profit coach. Could he go and become interviewed on some podcasts or some video casts? Yeah, absolutely. Well, those are people who have his audience, has a free giveaway of the 7 tips to, increase profitability in your business. Just go to my website, get a download. They go and guess what? They opt in. Now they're on his list. The number one asset of any business is the list. So because he's defined himself as the profit coach, he's become not a coffee bean, right? So the same thing with you or anybody else, whether you have a book or not, understand your story and differentiate yourself in the mind of your audience by adding something like, I'm the profit coach, or I'm the attorney who helps you get out of situations when life throws you a curveball, or I'm the financial advisor who guarantees you'll have money for the rest of your life. Finding some kind of a message that's different. I'm not just a financial advisor. I'm the guy with a bulletproof retirement plan. If you'd like to have a bulletproof retirement plan, then go to my website and download a copy of my of my free report that'll show you the 6 things you need to have in place to make sure you have a bulletproof retirement. Now that's compelling. I will opt in for that. And now I'm on their list. So every day, every week, I'm getting emails or videos or podcasts. That's how you position yourself. The book just takes you to an entirely different level, but you can do it without a book. Absolutely. All of the credibility marketing systems we teach in our coaching program, do it with or without a book. Just the book takes you to a whole level.
That's a good tip right there. Just how you present yourself, how you define yourself. Will either attract people or have them say, so what? You're just like everybody else, like a financial advisor. If I wanted to learn how credible I am in the eyes of my audience, where would I go to get that information? How would I know?
That's a great question, because that's a word we throw out, right? Credibility. And everybody kind of knows what it is, but how do you define it? Well, we figured it out. So we created this calculator. It's called the Credibility Calculator. And if you go to our website, paperbackexpert.com, at the very top center of the page, there's a link for the Credibility Calculator. And you can take that, and it's 20 questions, Stephen. You can take it in under 5 minutes. And we will produce your credibility score, 0 to 100 scale. And what we've determined is, what is credibility in the eyes of your audience? What do people look for to determine whether or not somebody is a credible source? 20 questions, under 5 minutes, you'll get your score. And then we have a 5-video series that follows that up to help you increase your credibility by taking you through what we call the credibility game plan. And you'll be able to understand how to take your credibility from, say, a 34 out of 100 to a much higher score by looking at how you scored on those 20 questions. So go to paperbackexpert.com. Top center of the page, there's a link. Absolutely free. Just click it. Takes you under 5 minutes.
I'll put a link in the show notes and the video description to that.
Yep.
And you had another thing you mentioned, free giveaway too before. I forget what it was. Is there another link to that one?
Everything's on our website. So the credibility calculator is the first thing we request people to do, or because that'll tell you in an instant what your credibility is in the eyes of your audience. And then obviously on our website, we've got different, video explanations and things you can opt into and watch to understand more about our process, what credibility is, how do we help you establish it, and then how do we help you market it.
So would that be the key tip to leave with people in terms of what they can do to improve their brand marketing and their credibility? Or do you have another tip you want to?
The biggest thing, honestly, is telling your story. Going through and understanding who you are and why do you do what you do? I mean, Stephen, why do you do what you do? You could be doing a dozen different things, but you don't. You do this. Why? There's a story there. There's a reason. Tell that story in your marketing. So many times we leave our story out of our marketing, and that's a massive failure. We need to roll our story into our marketing, right? Why do I do what I do?
Yeah, and I know a lot of business owners don't think that's important. And I know I didn't. I just changed my trailer video, they call it on YouTube, where I'm telling my story of how I got into this field.
Yeah.
And, it felt good just recording that video and being, confident enough and relaxed that, maybe somebody wants to hear it. But I know from interviewing business owners that, they would rather talk about their product or service. They don't think anybody's really interested in the story. But, when you think of all the big brands and, like you look at just Apple and you think of how that started, and even Microsoft, there's incredible stories behind them. Hewlett Packard, all these, Facebook. I mean, there's the movie that was made about how it started, and there's so much drama behind it and so much to overcome, and people love that. So connecting with a story really connects people with your brand.
It really does. It causes people to know you, to like you, and to trust you. So they'll take that next step, which is listening to you, believing you, downloading your free report, your book, watching your videos, whatever it is. But I'll bond, as I share my story of how did I get here. It's a story of a struggling marriage. It's a story of adoption, foster care, being in prison for 2 years, escaping prison, getting on easy street, starting my own company, right? And then the challenges there, and then finally creating and publishing my own book, which changed everything, caused people to see me differently, hire me, and look at me as the expert. That's how I got here. It's my story. When I tell that story, people resonate with me in a variety of ways, because most of us have had a struggling marriage. A lot of us have desired to do foster care or adopt. Those have nothing really to do with what I do, but it's who I am. People are going to buy you more for who you are than what you do.
Well, there's this old expression that in sales training or in sales in general, people would rather buy from those they like and trust, all things being equal, And on the flip side, all things being unequal, people would rather buy from those they like and trust, right? So you could be more expensive than the next guy. I'm not talking for commodity products, but for professional service, like just think of insurance. You probably have a relationship with somebody who sold you life insurance at one point, and you bought because you trusted them and you liked them. You don't really understand all the ins and outs of life insurance, and you could probably find maybe a less expensive product, or it doesn't matter. But because you like and trust that person, you bought from them, and it could be even unequal. So that's really important. It's a very good point. Michael, is there one thing that I should have asked you that I didn't?
I guess the one thing that always comes down is how do you differentiate yourself quickly? And it comes back, I feel like a broken record. It comes back to telling your story. When I leave here, what am I going to remember about you? Are you just like the next guy, the next guy, the next guy? Because most of your prospects are talking to 2 or 3 people at the beginning. But if you can circumvent that and become for them the profit coach, all right, well, that gravitates to me. Be yourself. Tell me your story and show me how you can help me and how you've helped others. Do that, and your business is going to start improving.
Well, thank you, Michael. That was very insightful. I'll put a link to, as I mentioned, Michael's website and his free giveaways, the credibility assessment that you can take in 5 minutes. I know I'm interested in checking that out. I love doing assessments and learning more about myself and how I'm positioned. So I'll put a link to that. For those who haven't subscribed yet, please do so. Turn on the notification bell so you get news of new videos like these. I'm starting to do regular guest interviews now. I also have free giveaways, forms, templates that you could find in the description of this video. Thank you all for listening, and we'll talk again soon. Thank you, Michael.